Thank you, Prime Ministers. Questions? We'll take some questions from the floor. I'll start with NOS.
Thank you very much. On behalf of all Dutch press present here, thank you very much. I understand that President Zelensky is, of course, very worried about the situation and has asked for a meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council. When will it take place and on which level? And connected with this, I heard you say that when it comes to choosing between what is needed for countries to provide to NATO or to Ukraine, you clearly say give everything to Ukraine. Yesterday we heard our Prime Minister next to you saying in Parliament that it's not possible to send Dutch Patriots to Ukraine because of this NATO requirement. So my question is, are you saying that the Dutch could provide this Patriot system to Ukraine? And connected to this also, did you already show Mr. Rutte his new desk as the next Secretary General? Tusen tak.
First of all, President Zelensky has asked for a meeting on the NATO-Ukraine Council. We will convene the meeting on Friday. That will be with President Zelensky and then with NATO defense ministers to address the urgent needs for more support to Ukraine. In particular, I expect there will be a focus on air defense, as we have discussed today, but also on more artillery rounds. Following up the Czech initiative supported by the Netherlands and Denmark and other allies to purchase more artillery and then to get it over to Ukraine as soon as possible. I think this demonstrates the value of the NATO-Ukraine Council, which is one of the decisions we made together in Vilnius to strengthen our institutionalized partnership with Ukraine and to use the Council for consultations and to address urgent matters like the provision of more military support. Then, of course, we have NATO defense plans and we have associated capability targets, different types of forces of ammunition or weapon systems that each and every ally should have. And of course, as Secretary General of NATO, it's important for me that all allies meet and deliver on those capability targets. But I realize that at least in the short term, there may be a conflict between meeting all the targets and delivering what Ukraine needs now. And therefore, I have made it clear that if the only way to deliver support to Ukraine is to go below the NATO capability targets, well, that's the right thing to do. At the end of the day, this has to be a national decision. It has to be a balance between the increased risks we then have to face for our own national defense. But the reality is that to support Ukraine and to help them destroy Russian combat capabilities also enhances our security. And therefore, I have stated clearly that if that's needed, then we can go below the NATO capability targets. Then, of course, it highlights the importance of ramping up production, because then we have to replenish the different stocks. So we also discussed today the importance of getting up production to ensure that we soon again meet the NATO capability targets. Then it's not for me to comment on my successor. Tusen takk.
Okay, we'll have a second question from Danish media this time. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Ole Ryber from Danish National Radio and Television, Secretary General. We saw just a couple of days ago when Iran attacked Israel that you had a very, very efficient air defense system. At the same time, we see that more and more drones and missiles get through when attacks are on Ukraine. Do we, as the West, have the capability of handling two conflicts at the same time, and how are we going to do that? Because it looks like we're going to need a lot more air defense system if the situation in the Middle East escalates, which there is a risk for. Thank you.
NATO has the capability of handling more than one conflict at a time, and NATO allies have that capability. Together, we represent 50% of the world's military might, and we have strong allies, and we have allies with many high-end capabilities, including the allies which are here. Then I think that the fact that we now have a full-fledged war in Europe and a new war in the Middle East demonstrates the importance of what we have started to do in NATO, and that is to implement the biggest reinforcement of our alliance since the end of the Cold War, with high readiness of our troops, with combat-ready troops in the eastern part of the alliance, and not least with increased defense spending. And again, the countries standing here, they are really examples of how allies are now adapting. They all meet the 2% guideline. They all invest heavily in new capabilities because we reduced defense spending when tensions went down. Now we have to increase defense spending when tensions are going up, and that's exactly what allies are doing.
Thank you, Secretary General. Member of the Czech Press Corps. Yes, go ahead.
Petr, Czech television. I've got a question on air defense systems. We've heard recently Josep Borrell, the chief of EU diplomacy, saying that there are 100 of batteries of Patriots available in Western countries, and Ukraine has asked for 7 of them. So is this the target you are seeking for? Is it possible to gather 7 batteries and send them to Ukraine? And the second question is primarily to our Prime Minister. People in Slovakia started a crowdfunding campaign to raise money and to take part in the Czech initiative because their government doesn't want to take part. So is it actually conceivable that private money crowdfunded on the internet could be used as part of this project? Thank you.
The first question was that to me, or? Yeah. Well, also, I cannot go into the exact numbers because that's intelligence, or that's classified information I cannot go into. There is less than 100 in Europe. Actually, there's significantly less than 100 in Europe. But of course, the whole alliance has a significant number of Patriot batteries. But that's also reflecting the fact that the United States, which is the ally with the most Patriot batteries, has global responsibilities. But the reality is that, of course, we have systems available that is big enough to enable us to deliver significantly more to Ukraine when it comes to air defense in general, and also when it comes to Patriot batteries, and that's exactly what we are working on now.
So, and about the questions about the Slovak initiative, it's very nice to hear about it. Firstly, I would like to thank all people who are trying to help to the brave defenders of Ukraine. It is really great to see this initiative. We will check all the options, but this initiative is primarily built as a governmental one. But in all cases, there are many options how to contribute. There are many fundraising campaigns which can be used for it. So, really, I am very happy that so many people in Slovak Republic want to help, and there are different possibilities, but the Czech ammunition initiative is primarily built as a governmental one.
Thank you. We'll take one last question. Any hands? Yes, go ahead.
Agency of the Netherlands. Did you consider, the 3 of you, rich countries, to do something, the 3 of you? Or do you want to have a bigger group of people, like 20, that do joint procurements?
To be honest, on
the air defense, I mean.
Yes, on air defense, but I stand corrected, so please chip in. But I would argue that money is not the first issue here. We have committed again another over 4 billion, which brings our total to over 10 billion, and all of us have committed a lot of money. So I don't think money is the issue here. The main issue here is to get the systems themselves. We saw with the Czech shells initiative, and that as soon as it was clear that there was this outlook to 500,000, maybe even 1 million shells, that it was relatively easy to get the money. The question is how to get the systems. And here we are looking into our European partners, of course, the whole of NATO, but also outside NATO. So this production, it is outside NATO, within NATO. But I think money will not be the problem here.
And if I can just add, I think the message we got from Secretary General today is very important, because all of us in the alliance is balancing the needs we have as members of NATO and our own deterrence and defense and all the things we want to do for Ukraine. But the message has been very clear today that when we're looking at the battlefield at the moment, we need to deliver more, especially ammunition and air defense, and that is the most important target for all NATO members right now. So with that clear message, I think it will be easier for the three of us, together with the wordings from Germany this weekend and also the days after, to ensure that we will deliver what Ukraine needs right now, and it is especially air defense.
Thank you. Thank you all. This concludes the press conference. Thank you.